A few years ago, Lionel Messi was seen doing something that was not necessarily bizarre, but a rare sight. But it isn't the first time a football player has done something on the field that looked suspicious or strange. From headbutting an opponent in a World Cup final, to a player shoving a referee, to kicking a ball boy, we've all seen our fair share of bizarre things during many live games. So let's talk about all these instances. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon and let your friends know about us. England crashed out of the 1962 World Cup following a 3-1 defeat at the hands of Brazil in the quarter-final stages. And while the defeat was something that fans would remember, the game itself will be associated with something that was weird and comical. While players were focused on the game, a dog ran onto the pitch and managed to successfully evade all 22 athletes who were supposed to be fitter and sharper than most people on the planet during that time. The late Jimmy Greaves eventually managed to tame the dog and picked it up. Now, most dogs will be happy with being picked up by a stranger, but this dog decided to pee all over Greaves' shirt. I got down on my hands and knees, being a dog lover anyway, and called it over. It got a massive cheer, and I picked the dog up and cuddled him, but as I cuddled him, he peed all down my shirt. You never had changed strips in those days, you just had the one shirt, so I had to play on with it. I smelt so bad it was awful, but at least it meant the Brazilian defenders stayed clear of me. What became of the dog? Turns out that Garrincha won the draw for the dog and lived with his illustrious owner in the village of Pau Grande. Football is a game that's played by 22 men, but has the power to play with the emotions of those who are watching it. As a die-hard fan of any club, it's not easy seeing your team struggle. Ask the Genoa players from the 2012-13 season. The club was trailing 4-0 to Siena, who were also fighting for survival in the Serie A. Genoa's ultras eventually had enough of it. Tired of seeing their team play so meekly, they almost reached the pitch. The poor Genoa players were pretty much prisoners inside their own home ground. Club captain Marco Rossi decided to calm things down. Quite incredibly, the ultras demanded the players hand over their jerseys, since they were unworthy of representing the club. The players, fearing for their safety, obliged. However, Giuseppe Scully wasn't having any of it and was seen having a heated discussion with the ultras, who eventually decided to return the players their shirts. The moral of the story: don't join Genoa when the club is struggling. Steve Harvey isn't the only person to make a wrong announcement for an award. In what was quite an embarrassing gaffe, the Joe Martson Medal for the A-League Grand Finals Best Player went to Jacob Burns of Perth Glory a few years ago. However, the award was mistakenly given to Brisbane Raw's Thomas Broich first. Raw won the game 2-1 in what was a controversial win. Broich was on song during that game, setting up Besart Berisha for the equaliser and then scoring from what was a controversial free kick. However, it still didn't make any sense, since Burns covered every blade of the grass in that encounter and deserved to be given the award. An hour or so later, a flushed A-League boss, Lyle Gorman, revealed that due to an administrative error, Broich was handed the medal. Well, at least they remembered, right? 4 years after a failed attempt to tackle Alf Inge Haaland had cost him a long-term injury, Roy Keane was patiently waiting for the right moment, plotting his revenge like a cold-blooded killer. The two men never saw eye to eye, and Keane had not forgotten how the Norwegian had treated him when he was lying down on the floor, writhing in agony. Once he got fit, the Manchester United captain couldn't wait for the Manchester derby. And when it did arrive, the feisty Corkman went for one of the worst tackles in football history that was clearly aimed at ending Haaland's career. And while the tackle did not entirely end his career, it did take a few years from Haaland's playing career, and a few years later, Erling's father retired. Is that why his son Erling Braut Haaland is not going to join Manchester United? If you bite someone once, it could be a mistake. If you do it a second time, it's an issue. And if you do it for the third time, it means that there's something very wrong with you. Well, Luis Suarez might be a great player, but the Uruguayan is so competitive that he allows his emotions to get the better of him, and out of sheer frustration, he'll even bend the rules of the game to an extent that's infuriating and comical at the same time. In a World Cup game against Italy, Suarez went from hero to zero. As Uruguay faced Italy in the group stage of the 2014 World Cup, the former Barcelona man made an unforgivable blunder, making him the laughingstock of the entire planet. In the 79th minute, Giorgio Chiellini threw himself towards Suarez, and seeing his chance, the feisty striker planted his teeth in the defender's shoulder. Suarez wasn't punished by the referee for this act, but the bite marks on Chiellini's shoulders showed that the veteran centre-back was bitten by a feral creature. As a result, Suarez was hit with a 4-month ban. That didn't stop his move to Barcelona from Liverpool for £75 million. Since then, the veteran striker has fought his urges successfully, so far. In a league encounter between Newcastle United and Aston Villa, Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer were sent to the dressing room after coming to blows. Was it the frustration of conceding 3 goals at home in front of 52,000 spectators, or was it anger at one another for not doing enough? Both men fought like roosters without thinking about the mess that they were creating. The Magpies had already lost the services of Stephen Taylor because of a red card, and a few minutes later, Newcastle were down to 8 men. Such acts, although very rare, are not totally uncommon. In 1995, Graham Lasso and David Batty, then playing for Blackburn, were involved in a heated confrontation during a Champions League meeting with Spartak Moscow. 4 years later, John Hartson and Eyal Berkovic were involved in a fight during a training session. Over the years, we've seen many instances where a group of disgruntled fans will pool in to have a plane fly above the stadium of their beloved club with a banner showcasing their frustration or hatred towards a manager or a club owner. While it doesn't make for good reading, such acts aren't too harmful and don't impact how the game is being played out. During a Euro 2016 qualification game in Belgrade between Albania and Serbia, fighting broke out between players, fans, and team officials at the Partizan Stadium. The brawl resulted after a drone lowered a flag bearing an insignia of Greater Albania. Serbian defender Stefan Mitrovic caught the banner. Several members of the Albanian side attempted to recover the banner, which resulted in quite a melee that put referee Martin Atkinson in a tight spot. The game was abandoned after a 30-minute delay. As a result, Albania forfeited the match and Serbia were given a 3-0 win. However, the home side were also deducted 3 points and were forced to host qualification games inside an empty stadium. Both countries were also fined €100,000. Okay, so those are some of the bizarre things that have unfolded on a football pitch. Of course, there's tons of those incidents that need to be covered, and we'll do so in the coming weeks. However, right now we need to talk about something that's related to Lionel Messi. During a Champions League game against Greek giant Olympiacos, Lionel Messi was seen picking up something inside his left sock before quickly eating it. Many people, of course, jumped to quick conclusions, wondering whether the Argentine legend was taking a performance-enhancing drug. However, it wasn't really a big deal, according to a journalist from Catalunya Radio, who said that the Barca star keeps a glucose tablet with him, since chewing these tablets improves muscle performance. Normally, this type of product is ingested when a diabetic patient is in a state of hypoglycemia, which is not the case with Messi. A lot of track and field athletes also use glucose tablets. The tablet needs no energy or digestion to be absorbed. The moment it hits your tongue, it automatically starts entering your blood flow. Only a small boost of glucose helps improve performance. During any physical activity, there comes a time when an athlete won't have enough oxygen to burn glucose completely. A lot of clinical studies have proven that glucose tablets have improved performance for many athletes, so the next time you're at a drugstore, feel free to get a small batch of those tablets and see if it helps you enjoy a more energetic experience on the playing field. And if you do, make sure to let us know.